Welcome to today's story. This is the true and powerful journey of Emily, a young mother who walked through fear, heartbreak, and silence to find her voice, her freedom, and a new life. If you've ever felt stuck, afraid, or alone, her story may touch your heart in more ways than one. My name is Emily. I am 27 years old. I live in a small town near the mountains. My life is not easy. Every morning, I wake up feeling afraid. Every night, I cry quietly. I want to leave this life, but I don't know where to go. When I was a young girl, life was happy. My mother sang to me at night. She cooked warm meals and kissed my forehead before bed. My father worked at a bakery. He brought sweet bread home and smiled when he saw me. I had a little brother named Alex. He was kind and followed me everywhere. But when I was 9 years old, everything changed. One morning, my father left and never came back. We waited for hours, then days, then weeks. My mother cried every night. I was too young to understand. People said, my father ran away with another woman. My mother didn't believe it. She sat by the window every day, waiting. 2 years later, my mother got sick. She became very thin. Her skin turned pale. She stopped smiling. She couldn't cook or clean anymore. I started doing everything. I washed clothes, cooked simple food, and looked after Alex. I was only 11, but I felt like a mother. One night, my mother called me to her bed. She held my hand and said, Emily, you are strong. Take care of your brother. Be brave. Those were her last words. The next morning, she passed away. After that, things got worse. My father's brother, Robert, came to take care of us. At first, he seemed okay. He brought food and paid the rent. He told us to go to school. But soon, Robert changed. He started drinking every day. He got angry easily. He shouted at us for small things. If Alex dropped a spoon, Robert yelled. If I came home late, he threw things. One night, he slapped me. I was so scared I couldn't sleep. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. I wanted to run away, but I had nowhere to go. I was still a child. I didn't know anyone outside our small town. I had no money or friends. I stayed for Alex. He was only 8. He needed me. Years passed. I learned to stay quiet. I cooked before Robert got home. I cleaned the house. I didn't speak unless spoken to. I learned how to survive. When I turned 16, I met a boy named Alex. He worked at a store near my school. He had light brown eyes and a soft voice. He always said hello. One day he gave me a candy and asked, You look sad. Are you okay? I wanted to cry, but I just nodded. Alex started waiting for me after school. We talked about books, music, and dreams. He said he wanted to leave the town and see the world. I said I wanted that too. He smiled and said, Then come with me. At first, I was scared, but I wanted to be free. I wanted to feel safe. I told Alex I would come back for him. I left a note under his pillow. One cold night, I ran away from Robert's house and went to Alex. Alex lived in a small room behind the store. It wasn't big, but it felt safe. He made me tea and gave me a blanket. He told me I was safe now. I believed him. For a few weeks, I was happy. We walked in the fields, looked at the stars, and talked about the future. I thought I found love. Then, Alex lost his job. He started getting angry. He stayed home and drank. He said, I didn't understand his pain. One night, he pushed me. I fell and hit my head. He said, sorry. I believed him. I didn't want to go back to Robert. I had no place to go. But Alex didn't stop. He shouted, broke things, and called me names. I felt small and weak. Still, I stayed. I thought maybe I could fix him. Maybe he would change. When I turned 18, I found out I was pregnant. I was scared, but also happy. I thought this would change Alex. I thought he would stop drinking, but he didn't. He got worse. When I told him I was pregnant, he threw a glass at the wall. He shouted, are you trying to trap me? I cried all night. I wanted to leave, but I had no money, no home, no one to help. One night, he hit me so hard I couldn't stand. I lay on the floor, holding my belly. I was scared for my baby. The next day, I went to a clinic. The nurse looked at me and said, you need help. She gave me a card for a women's shelter. That night, when Alex was asleep, I packed a small bag and left. The shelter was in another town. It was quiet. 10 other women lived there. Some had children. Some had black eyes. Some had broken hearts. But we were all the same. We wanted peace. I stayed at the shelter until my baby was born. A little boy. I named him Noah. He had my eyes and dark hair. I held him and cried. I whispered, I will never let anyone hurt you. My life was still hard, but I worked every day. The shelter helped me find a job at a bakery. I made bread in the mornings and came back in the evenings to feed Noah. I lived in a small room with one bed, one table, and 2 chairs. It was simple, but it was mine. For a while, I felt strong. I smiled more. I took Noah to the park. I read books at night. I tried not to think about Alex or Robert. I tried to forget the past. But one day, Alex found me. I was walking home from the bakery when I heard a voice behind me. Emily, he said. I turned around and my heart stopped. It was him. He looked tired. His clothes were dirty. He smelled like alcohol. He smiled and said, I missed you. I didn't speak. I didn't move. He said, I changed. I don't drink anymore. I want to see my son. I said, no. He grabbed my arm. Please, just once. I pulled away and ran. That night, I couldn't sleep. I held Noah close. I locked the door. I cried in silence. I was afraid again. The next day, I went to the police. I told them everything. They said they would help me, but I still felt scared. Since that day, I live with fear again. I always look behind me. I check the doors twice. I don't let Noah out of my sight. I don't know if Alex will come back. I don't know if he will try to take my baby. I want to feel safe again, but I don't know how. I still go to work. I still smile for Noah, but inside, I feel broken. Some nights, I cry after he falls asleep. I whisper, I'm sorry. I wish I was stronger. I don't know what will happen in the future, but I hold on to one hope, that one day I won't be afraid anymore. Some days I feel strong. Other days I feel like I'm falling apart. I try to be a good mother. Every morning I make breakfast for Noah. He loves toast with honey. He laughs when I make funny faces with his food. His smile gives me hope. But inside, I'm still scared. I always check the windows. I always look behind me when I walk home. I moved to a new room in the shelter, but I don't feel safe. I still hear Alex's voice in my mind. I see his face in my dreams. I wake up with my heart racing. One day, the shelter manager asked me, "Emily, do you want to see a counselor?" At first, I said no. I didn't want to talk about the past. I thought talking would make the pain worse. But a week later, I said yes. The counselor's name was Julia. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. She asked me about my life. I told her everything about my father, about Robert, about Alex. She didn't cry. She didn't look shocked. She just listened. She said, "You are brave, Emily. You survived. You are still here." No one had ever said that to me before. We met every week. Slowly, I started to feel lighter. I learned it wasn't my fault. I learned that love should not hurt. I learned that I deserve peace. Noah turned 2. He was walking and talking. He called me Mama and kissed my cheek every night. He loved to sing. He danced in circles when I played music. He made my world bright again. One afternoon at the bakery, a man walked in. He was tall, had dark hair, and kind eyes. He ordered coffee and smiled. The next day, he came again and again. After a week, he said, "Hi, my name is Daniel." I said, "I'm Emily." He smiled and said, "I like your smile." I looked down. I wasn't used to compliments. I didn't know what to say. He didn't push. He didn't ask questions. He just came in every day, bought coffee, and talked about simple things, books, rain, music. One day, he asked, "Can I walk you home?" I froze. My heart said, "No." My fear said, "Run." But something inside said, "Maybe it's okay." I said, "Just to the corner." He walked beside me, not too close, not too far. He said, "You're strong. I don't know your story, but I see it in your eyes." I smiled. "Thank you." For the first time in years, I felt warm. Over time, Daniel became part of my life. Slowly, carefully. He brought books for Noah. He helped carry groceries. He never touched me without asking. He never raised his voice. He said, "Love is not control. Love is safety." I didn't believe in love before, but maybe it could be real. Still, I was afraid. One night, Daniel invited me and Noah to a small picnic in the park. We sat on a blanket. The sun was soft. The sky was pink. Noah laughed and chased butterflies. Daniel looked at me and said, "You don't have to be scared anymore." I'm not him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust. But it's hard when your heart has so many scars. That night, I had a dream. I saw myself as a little girl holding Alex's hand. We were standing in the dark, looking for light. Then I saw Noah, smiling, holding a candle. I woke up crying. The next day, I called Alex. We hadn't spoken in years. He was now 21 and working in another city. When he answered, I couldn't speak. I just cried. He said, "Emily, is that you?" I said, "I'm sorry I left you. I should have come back." He said, "You did what you had to do. I missed you." We talked for an hour. He told me he was okay. He forgave me. he said. I always knew you loved me. You saved me by saving yourself. I hung up and felt peace for the first time in a long time. Weeks passed. Daniel stayed kind. Noah was growing fast. I started to feel strong again. Then, one day, I got a letter. It was from Alex. He wrote, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I want to see my son. I didn't reply. I showed the letter to the shelter staff. They said they would help me speak to a lawyer. I was afraid again, but I didn't cry. I looked at Noah and said, I will protect you. I kept the letter in a box. I didn't tell Daniel, but he saw my face and asked, Are you okay? I said, No, but I will be. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw someone new, not a victim, not just a girl who had run away. I saw a woman. The next morning, I met with a lawyer. I asked about my rights and told them everything. They said I could ask for full custody. They told me I had a strong case. I felt nervous, but also proud. That night, I told Daniel everything about the letter, about Alex, and about my fear. He held my hand and said, Whatever happens, I'm here. And I believed him. 1 month later, I stood in a small courtroom. Alex didn't come. Only his lawyer was there. They asked me questions, and I answered clearly. I had documents, photos, and proof. The judge listened. After 2 hours, the judge said, Full custody goes to Emily. I cried, not from sadness, but from relief. When I came home, Noah ran into my arms. I picked him up and said, We're safe now. That night, I burned the letter. Days turned into months. I moved out of the shelter and into a small apartment. It had 2 rooms and a little kitchen, but it was ours. I painted the walls yellow. I placed flowers on the windowsill. For the first time in years, it felt like a real home. Daniel visited often. He never pushed me. He said, I'll wait until you're ready. One evening, we sat on the porch. Noah was sleeping. The stars were bright. Daniel looked at me and said, Emily, I love you, not because of your past, but because of the strong person you are now. I cried, not from fear, but from love. I said, I love you too. It wasn't a perfect story. Life was still hard. I worked 2 jobs. I still had nightmares. I still checked the locks every night. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I started writing my story. I wanted to help other women. I wanted to say, you are not alone. You are strong. You can survive. I gave talks at the shelter. I sat with women who cried like I once did. I held their hands and said, There is hope. Look at me. I didn't forget the past, but I didn't live in it anymore. Now, I lived for today. I lived for Noah's laughter, for fresh bread in the morning, for sunsets with Daniel, for quiet nights and warm blankets. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like, comment, and share. Your support helps us bring more emotional and inspiring stories to light. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter in stories that heal, inspire, and remind us we're not alone.